tell you a little bit about my work and pass it over to Melissa, and maybe the two of us can talk, because we've never met before, but we are so on the same wavelength. It's pretty incredible. Thanks to Howard County for putting us together. These are my two walls, and these are all things collected from our farm. It's a riverside farm on the eastern shore. Raise your hand if you've ever picked up a shell or a pretty pebble when you're walking on the beach. Okay, so that's what this is about. I walk the farm all the time and pick things up, and I think it's like a basic human urge to just curiosity, to know what things are, and to give them a little closer inspection, and maybe take them home with you and think about it some more, and kind of as a remembrance or a souvenir of where you were. Well, a little bit of background is that I used to live in D.C. My husband, Howard, over there, and I are both artists who collaborated a lot in our D.C. years, and since then, and we did the whole art thing, lots of shows here and there, and being part of the art crowd, writing reviews and stuff. All of a sudden, I got a letter from my cousin who was selling. Okay, he was selling my grandmother's house that he and his family had been living in, and this is like such a special place. Right by the river is where I learned to swim. We'd have family gatherings, I'd be with my cousins, so it's like practically paradise. And here he's selling it. And I got this letter. I got home from work first. I burst into tears. And when Howard got home from work, we looked at it and talked about it. And long story short, we ended up moving there. This is like almost 30 years ago. So since then, I've just been trying to get to know the place. And I walk and I kayak and pick up things. And just learn about the place and turn it into artwork. So I think Melissa has kind of some similar background with some farm.
So I'm originally from Appalachia. I also grew up on a farm. When I was a kid, I had a little toy microscope. So I would go out in the field because we have other brothers and things like that. So I would run out, grab things, put them in packets to like bring back and put in front of the microscope. And then when I was in graduate school, which is the beginning of fret and focus, which is kind of the larger pieces that you see in the microscope slides that are on the table, I wanted to kind of look at how we ask people to give evidence of how they're feeling or what they're like thinking about, but we kind of push things off as like, if we're worrying about it, it's not real, unless you can like have evidence of it. So mining how photography is really used as a way to collect data, but also it's very subjective. It's kind of silly to like use that as like the only data point that you have. But if you can get super detailed images of things, it looks very real. Like people just grab onto that as like, oh, well, this has to be a real thing. So the reason why they're blown up so huge is I was trying to get as physically large as we could, because we sometimes feel so enormous, even though they're very, very small. Also, part of the piece was I built little projectors also that blew them up really huge as well, but they're made out of like bits of glass and like weird trash and things, which couldn't be shown here because of the lighting, but it's totally fine. So that was a way to kind of map out how I was feeling over a long period of time. And then more recently, so the floral pieces, during COVID, I have a yard, I live over in Howard County, Pelican City, and I realized I couldn't be near people, but as things were blooming, as I was finding things in my yard and like gardening and trying to get outside and just like ignore what was happening, I was running into items that really reminded me of the people that I missed a whole lot. So each one of these are kind of based on different stories of things that people have told me about flowers or about like their interactions with different floral pieces or plants. Some of them are given to me, so the bulbs are actually from another artist, Mary Leaves, who runs like kind of a floral lab in Baltimore City. And she felt really that these were kind of, she didn't get them in the ground fast enough. And so she felt like kind of worried about them, or like kind of sad that she didn't get, feel responsible for these living things. So I took them, photographed them for her, gave them back, we planted them, they're fine. The elderberry flowers, I have a friend whose mother used to make pancakes, kind of like dipping the flowers in a pancake batter and then frying them up and eating them, and she would give them to all the kids. So it was a way to feel close to people without like being able to feel good or being near them. And then also, just photography kind of lets other people talk to me about those interactions as well, and what they remember about them. Yeah. So those two pieces, they span about 4 or 5 years apart, which is kind of fun to see like how they also connect, because the flowers as they bloom, you get like a calendar of like what's in season and what isn't. Yeah. I don't know. If anyone has any questions, thank you all for coming.
Does anyone have questions? Anything you'd like to know more about?
Wonderful work. I know a lot about Melissa because she's my friend, but I'm new to your work. I wonder how you, what's the balance between visual and your writing? How does that come about? Easy question.
Right. Well, I began writing about art, writing art reviews, especially when I still lived in DC. But coming into a rural situation, it just became kind of a different way that I could explore the situation. I could do it visually, collecting things, making art, and putting them in situations where they make you think about how humans think about nature. But by using words, kind of get a different dimension. So I'm thinking I'll lean a little more toward writing now because my studio is full of art. There's room to make too much more. But I love doing both. So thanks for the question. That was great.
I think this really appeals to the pack rat in many artists. I keep a lot of things, and Mary, I love what you've done here. I'm so curious, how do you keep this in your house? Like, do you just have jars everywhere, or do you have like, I don't know, like boxes full of treasures everywhere in your home?
Well, I try and keep it in the studio. We converted my grandmother's 3-car garage loft into a studio, so I have a bookcase with a whole lot of them, and then I just have file boxes with more and more jars. And then I have piles of stuff I'm going to make into jars or make into wall works. I have a lot of backlog. That's all artists do.
Yeah. Do you need more jars?
I do not need more jars. Yeah, it gets habit for me.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I keep all of mine in boxes. So the nice thing about microscope slides is they are really easy to compact and like safe. And that was part, so I was in grad school, I didn't have a whole other space, so like trying to make things that were small and compact, I could just trek around. Didn't work out with the 8-foot-long light table, but other than that, it was good.
The light table isn't going to take up any more room than those shelves.
No, it's true.
They fold down.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Although you said that you pick up some things just accidentally or things like that, but when you look at it closely, a lot of them has beauty.
Yeah.
And many things so in your soul here. I'm really attracted to a couple of things here. For example, this snake. Yeah, like forever.
Yeah, like calligraphy. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And also, well, this. Yeah, it's also like calligraphy.
I really love things that are gross but like are beautiful. So you like have this weird. Yeah. There's a lot of things in life.
That's true. Yeah, a lot of things in the jar, like there's dull regurgitations, like scraped off of our dock.
Yeah. That's no, I would.
And dead bugs.
Oh, there's a lot of bugs. Yeah.
It's just a lot in common.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for showing that.
Thank you, everybody. So the questions, we're going to stop the recording of this right now, but please come and